Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for my TikTok audience to turn up. Should be any second now. Hello. Okay, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from and the ages of your children. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and my kids are 33 and 28. Hi, I am. I just like saying that. I am. And I also have Dot. That's another regular. It's just a dot. They must have been on TikTok early to get that one. Okay, so where are you from and what are the ages of your children? Texas, 6 years old. Hi, Texas. I got to get there one day. Texas is calling my name. I've never been there. Well, I was there for a stopover, I think in Houston, actually. And it was just at the airport, so I never saw any of it. It had a neat airport, though. They had this train that went around the whole airport, up like high up. You could see sort of what was going on around you. It was neat. I think it was Houston. Okay, so where are you from and what are the ages of your children? I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and my kids are, you're in England and your son is 3 in November. Okay, so you just got a toddler still. So I don't know why. I get into stares and just looking at what you're typing. And then I forget that I'm actually here. Connecticut, 4 and 7 years old. CT, is that Connecticut? You're trying to be cryptic here and throw me off, I think. I don't know what that would be. Connecticut. Is that Connecticut? Oh, okay. Connecticut. Can't believe I got that right. Okay, well, welcome everyone. California, 15 years old. Teenagers are my favorite age. Canada, and I have twin boys, 18 months old. It's funny because people who are from Canada will sometimes just put Canada and that, but the US always puts states. Like they never just say US, they go states. So whereabouts in Canada? I'm in Vancouver. So I'm rubbing my hands together because I've got some really thick cream on here. My calluses from the gym split open today. It's quite painful. I was doing hanging knee lifts and yikes, I could feel it tear. Oh, anyway, Ontario. Oh, okay. Hi, Ontario. So I've been there a few times, not since I was young though. Virginia, my son is 5. Okay, let's get going. If you go in the link above, you'll see I've got coaching, and you can buy one of my courses or download my free behavior board. It's all in the link above. And my website's had some changes to it, but the link above is called Linktree, and it's just got my whole website basically on bullet point form. Just makes it a little bit easier for you, but it's all the same stuff, okay? If you want to visit my website, there's a little bit more on there about me. I actually shut down my blog years ago because I've been doing this for so long now that one day, a few years ago, I went back and read my old blogs. Like I had thousands of them on there. And I went back and read an old blog and it said, oh, this newfangled Facebook thing. Yeah, grandma, we shut down the blog. And then it wasn't worth my time putting into all that. I don't like writing, so it was just became difficult. Just didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy doing the blog at all. I love this. I love talking to you. It's my favorite thing. Okay, so what are your parenting questions? Good evening. Where are you that it's evening? Because it's 3:15 in the afternoon here in Vancouver. What's your recommended consequence for hitting or kicking a sibling same age? Okay, if they hurt a sibling, usually, especially if it's a younger one of the same age, that sibling gets to play with their favorite toy for a whole hour or the rest of the day. Sorry, I got cleavage showing. It's not usually what I do. Sorry. I don't know why. I don't like showing cleavage. I don't know why. I just feel, I don't know, kind of racy. Anyway, so yeah, they have to share their favorite toy. So their sibling gets to play with their favorite toy for the rest of the day. So if they hit them, and put no hitting on the behavior board. Use the behavior board. It's completely free. It's up there in the link, and put no hitting. And then when they do, they have to share their favorite toy. Not share it, but give it to the sibling to play with for about an hour. 6:15 in New York. Oh yeah, okay, 6:15. I was thinking evening was 10 o'clock at night. I don't know. Missouri, unfortunately. What? What do you mean, unfortunately? What's wrong with Missouri? Never been there. What's wrong with Missouri? Tell me, I want to know. You're just 2 hours. I don't know where that is exactly. Missouri. Okay, my teenage girl, when I say don't do this or that, she used to answer me, "You don't like it, but I do." Oh yeah, because that's what you're throwing orders at her. You don't order a teenager around. I don't have a course on teenagers. If you want to hire me, you can. But otherwise, I'm going to give you the three. I have a problem saying this. That my top three tips for parenting teenagers. Okay. Number one is listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, okay? You listen to understand, show empathy, and then stop talking. Become a brilliant listener. They already know your advice anyway. And if they want it, they're going to ask for it. And if they do ask for it, say, well, I don't know, let's figure it out together. That's number one, listening skills. Number two is negotiate pretty much everything with teenagers. Pretty much everything. Give them a say in how their life goes. Number three is don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff, okay? Do not sweat the small stuff with teenagers. They're allowed to make mistakes and they're going to, just like you did. Being calm during a tantrum, me. Oh, how to be calm during a tantrum? Oh, not them, obviously, yeah. Well, that's sort of like asking me how not to be hungry when you're dieting. It's impossible. If you're not used to being calm, it's a hard learning curve, okay? So like as soon as a kid has a tantrum around me, I'm very calm because I've had a lot of practice doing that. But yeah, it just takes practice. That's all. You just have to fake it till you make it. Go in your room and scream into a pillow later on. But yeah, it gets easier. It just does. What about consequences for making faces or sticking tongue out? I generally don't address attitude. That's in the attitude department. It just means they don't respect you. So rather than trying to fix the kid, you fix yourself. You teach yourself how to be a leader. And they don't do stuff like that when you're a leader. They just don't. They'd be embarrassed almost, like it's sort of embarrassing. Like if they look up to you, because a leader they look up to, you're like a mentor to them, like a really good sports coach that they like, and they follow the rules of the game because they want this sports coaches approval. They're trying to please you when you're a leader. That's what you want. They don't do that when you're a leader. So work on your leadership skills. That's all I teach. Check out, I have courses up above there if you're interested. If you want the next level, you can hire me for coaching. I had such a cute client this morning. She's doing really, really well. Usually by session 3, I cut the sessions in half if possible. So rather than 1-hour sessions, I like to cut them in half, and then they get extra sessions because we often cover what I'm just sort of catching up how the last week was. They already know the drills, so I don't need to give them a whole bunch of new lessons. So I say, let's cut this in half. She was only on session 2 and I cut it in half. She's doing really, really well. That excites me. I like to see my clients doing well. And if the ones who aren't, I put a lot into working really hard, but it frustrates me when they're not doing well because I always blame myself. Just like with kids, if they're not doing well, I'm their leader, I blame myself. If my clients are struggling, it's my fault. So I'm always trying to bring her along. But anyway, she's doing fantastic. She's so cute. It's funny, all my clients are cute now because I'm older than all of them. When I first started this business, I'm in my 60s now. When I first started this business, I was a lot younger. I was in my early 40s. And a lot of my clients were older than me. So it was just kind of more awkward, whereas now I can mother all of you because you're all younger than me now. That's the benefit to getting old. Good ways to discipline. Keep watching. That's all I talk about here is discipline. Not in a negative way, but self-discipline. You want children who are self-disciplined. They make good choices. They understand right from wrong, and they just tend to make good choices because you're a leader. You're there to correct them. You correct bad behavior, you deal with it, but then you focus on the good kid. You just deal with bad behavior as if it has nothing to do with them. It's not part of their identity. Don't go on about it. Parents want to go on and on and on talking about bad behavior. That's for you. That's not for your children. Actually, it does more damage because whatever you put your focus into is what grows. You put your energy into discussing everything they do wrong, they'll just keep doing it. Pretty much guaranteed. I was told my kid was a little aggressive. He's 2, almost 3. How can I help change his behavior? That under the age of 3, it's consistent corrective actions, okay? Because they learn through repetition. They don't learn through words. And consequences is in the moment. It has to be in the moment. They don't live for later on. Like you can't say the next day, by the way, yesterday you weren't very good, so you're not getting any dessert or something. You can't do that with a toddler. It has to be in the moment, consistent corrective action, right in the moment, and it has to be repetition. They don't learn the 10th time, not the 50th time even, usually the 150th time. It's repetition. They'll eventually just stop doing it. They don't even think about it. By the time they're 3, you can use my behavior board because they can stop and reason. In other words, they can think before they act. That's the frontal lobe. It's really developing at that stage. Anyway. I'm going to give you someone else told me how to name this. I was struggling to say this. It's my top 5 tips for toddlers. So thank you so much for naming that for me. Because I get stumbled over some things. That's one of them. Okay, so I'm going to read them out. My top 5 tips if you're parenting a toddler. Number 1 is child-proof your house so you never have to say the word no. Number 2 is get a toy rotation in place. And I've got lots of videos on that, by the way, a toy rotation system. So they only have a few toys out at any given time. And that's number 2. And then they're never bored because you're switching their toys around. Number 3 is when you're connecting with your little one, especially your little one, you play in their world, get down on their level, even go down like really low, put your head down on the ground when you're playing with them. And watch the way they play and you mimic them and you play in their world. They will start to look at you differently. It's part of the leadership skill too because you're connecting with them. That's how you connect with a toddler. Number 4 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. Toddlers have not formed yet. They have no sense of reasoning. Parents say this all the time. Yeah, toddlers are crazy. This is the ones who have experience with toddlers. Yeah, toddlers are just crazy. It's not so much that they're crazy. They just haven't developed sanity yet. If they've only been in the world for 2 years, and for that first year you were a potato laying on a mattress, how much common sense can you expect them to have? For some of them, sticking their hands down their pants and smearing poop on the wall makes total sense. Okay? So don't try and figure them out. And the very last one is when you're disciplining them or correcting bad behavior, it's not words. It's not these mini therapy sessions, which drive me freaking insane. That was invented for the mother. It feeds the mom. It feeds the mom. It has nothing to do with the toddler. It's just self-serving for the mom. They are all about actions. They're about consistent corrective actions. Every time they do that bad behavior, you come in with a consistent corrective action. Just remove them from the fun, remove the fun from them, just for a few minutes or an hour, whatever. And then we'll eventually learn because they learn through repetition. Those are my top 5 tips for toddlers. You can imagine the one word I kept getting wrong. Okay. Yeah. I have a 16 and 13-year-old, and they're very disrespectful to me and mean to me. Yeah, you're not a leader. Okay, you got to work on that. Teenagers, I just read this out. The top 3 tips for raising teenagers. Number 1 is become really good at listening. Okay, I just read this all out, but you weren't here. And teenagers, it's really important. I don't get a lot of teenage questions on here. They are my favorite age. And usually with teenagers, it's sort of your last chance. They're growing up, so you really want to get it right. You haven't got a lot of time to figure this out at 16, right? So the number 1 skill for my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers: listen to understand, not to gather information to lecture with. So you listen to understand and show empathy, and then you stop talking. They already know your advice anyway, and if they want it, they'll ask. And even if they do ask for your advice, be very careful. Say something like this: let's work this out together. You don't tell them what to do. Okay, when you get good at this, they'll tell you everything. You're going to become a safe place to land. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything with teenagers. You have to give them a say in how their life goes. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff. Allow teenagers to make small mistakes just like you did. And that's okay. Don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. What's the best way to get a toddler to clean up toys without being back and forth struggle? Well, I don't know the age. Like, are you being fair and reasonable? Are you being reasonable? Really, my kids weren't cleaning up until they were 3. So, and by that time, it was just like, sure, you can watch TV as soon as you put your toys away. So I always use the as soon as method, but they weren't really cleaning up till they were 3. They'd follow me around sort of cleaning, but under that. But yeah, they didn't really start until they were 3. And by then it was more like, yeah, well, of course you can watch TV. As soon as you clean up your room, as soon as you do, and then they'd run and do it. It was no big deal. I never told my kids what to do. They did what I wanted, but I never really told them what to do. My teen is making me crazy at this moment. If you want to hire me, go ahead and do that. Usually with that's coaching, that's up above. Coaching is done one-on-one on Zoom. And with teen stuff, I don't have a course on teenagers right now. Maybe one day I will, but they're a big, they're a big item. They're a big, there's a lot going on with teenagers. And the advice I give to each parent with a teenager, it's amazingly different. I don't give a lot of consistent advice with teenagers. So that's why I've just kept it at coaching for now. So if you're interested, it's usually 5 sessions. Okay. 2.5-year-old only wants mom what to do to include dad. Have different roles, like have certain things that each parent does. I was definitely the leader. I was also the fun, goofy one. Dad was fun, but he was more one to take them out and do stuff with them. Like sort of take them places. He was what we used to call the treat master. So I made sure I didn't do that with them. I let him have that role. So yeah, we each had kind of very definite roles. He was the pleaser. I was definitely the leader, and I was also the goofy one. But he was very good he was the treat master. He was great at taking them places, like fun places. That was his thing. So have different roles. And they're going to go back and forth. They're going to have favorites. They're back and forth. They love you both the same, but they're going to have favorites depending on the age and what they're going through, stage after stage after stage. 11 and 9 girls that team up on mom with disrespectful jokes. Yeah, so we don't fix kids, we fix and teach parents here. That just means you're not a leader. They wouldn't do that if you were a leader. My kids made fun of me all the time, but I was in on it. They were always laughing at me because I'm really good. I'm a good good joke. I'm good to laugh at. I do a lot of really dumb things. So yeah, my kids bonded over making fun of me, but I was in on it. I was quite happy to be the butt of their jokes. But if it's just mean spirited, that's different. You work on your leadership skills, and yeah, it just says they don't respect you. It's a tell. I think there is a diagnosis needed. We're on a waiting list. Yeah. Okay, here's my question to you. What are you going to do when you get one? Everything I teach, I never worked with kids who weren't easy I used to call them alphabet kids. People would always hand me kids to work with like this. Good luck, Lisa. Here's one for you. I never got easy kids to work with. All of these methods are for kids who are diagnosed with something. I used to call them alphabet kids. They had so many acronyms after their name. Autism's different. Autism is different. I only do that in coaching. But all of this stuff, this leadership stuff I talked about, I really learned all this through working with kids with ADHD, all sorts of challenges. WXYZ. I mean, this is where I learned all this. So what are you going to do? I always say that to parents. So what are you going to do? Are not going to be a leader when you do get a diagnosis? What are you waiting for is what I'm saying. You still want to be a leader no matter what your kid has. You still want to be a leader. So work on your leadership skills. It's so important. Children need, crave, and want leaders. If they don't have it in you, they're going to go searching out there for a leader. They're going to be very vulnerable to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to be very vulnerable because they're searching out a leader. If you're not one, you be a leader right through the teen years. You will be the safe place to land. You'll be the one that they tell everything to. You'll be the one they go to when they want to make decisions when they're teenagers. It's just the way it is. They'll tell you everything. So no matter what your kid is diagnosed with, you still want to be a leader. Does that make sense? I remember because I worked with so many challenging kids. And then when I had my own, I thought I'm ready for everything. And my kids are really easy. So they were just average. They didn't have all these diagnoses after them. So you can imagine how easy it was. I thought, wow, I was ready to go. But yeah, they were just didn't have any diagnosis or anything. My nearly 2-year-old screamed and tantrum for 2 hours this morning. Is it ever okay to put them in their room? No, I would never do that. In other words, is it okay to lock them in a cage? No, no, I would never do that. I would just keep going about my business, and I might sit and read a book out loud, seeing if they join me. And why are they crying for 2 hours? Why are they doing that? Are you meeting their needs and managing their wants? Do they get enough attention? Are they fed? Do they have like a diaper rash? Like, why are they going on for 2 hours? I would want to assess that. That is a long time. Usually they'll go on for 2 hours when they're 3 and over, but not 2. There's usually something else going on there. It's hard to say everything is linked to autism. Toddlers yell, scream, get mad, don't mean anything. I don't know what you mean by that. My boyfriend doesn't make his kids respect me, and it's very. I don't understand. Oh God, you're gonna hate what I'm gonna say. My boyfriend doesn't make his kids respect me, and it's very stressful. That's your job. That's your job. You got to earn it. That's your job. You got to earn their respect. No one else can do that. Yeah, that's your job. If you want their respect, you got to earn it. Work for it. Don't blame your boyfriend. When I correct my partner about something our 2-year-old did, he says, "Why do you make your mom cry?" You say that to a 2-year-old? Mm. The 2-year-old's thinking, "What? They're not listening to that." You're trying to do a mini therapy session there. We don't do that. That's actually not very respectful to the 2-year-old. That's not their world. That's a that's putting a lot on a 2-year-old. You're responsible for our emotions? That's what you're saying. That 2-year-old's responsible for your emotions. No, they're not. They're 2. They're the innocent victims here of your parenting. Yeah, they're not responsible for adult emotions at all. Don't put that on a 2-year-old. That's unfair. It's unreasonable. You asked about your parents gaslighting you. I have no idea. Don't know your relationship. I can tell I've got a bunch of new people on here. Um, the couple of reasons is the questions are ones that like my regulars already know the answer to. And also not as many people are jumping in answering for me. So usually my regulars come in and answer for me. So I love getting new people in here. When is appropriate to start timeout? You're new for a 2-year-old. He's so aggressive to his big sister. I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's humiliating and cruel. I hate it. So don't use timeout. I hate it. It's like, you're not even worth talking to. You go nose to wall in the corner there. Go get lost. Go over there. Could you imagine your boss saying that to you? You made a mistake on this ledger. You go sit in the corner. You're 35 years old. You sit there for 35 minutes. Then when you're finished, I'm going to come over there and talk about everything you did wrong. It's just so mean. It's humiliating. The kids feel the same way. They can't articulate that, but it's humiliating for them. It just makes them feel like garbage. So yeah, I hate timeout. I think it's horrible. So you're stressed out that your 24-month-old doesn't talk but understands. Why does that stress you out? That's often the way it is. They're often not really good at talking to their 2.5 or 3. So I don't know why that's stressful. Why is that stressful to you? Yeah, they understand, but they don't communicate. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. I'm not new. Hi. I love it when I see comments to you about timeout and things because you know me by now, right? Timeout. Timeout throws me over the edge. Two things throw me over the edge. Timeout, because it's so popular. I don't know who the heck's teaching it out there. And the other one is because I don't know who else is out there. I stay in my own lane because I'm not going to criticize anyone out there. And the other one is the mini therapy sessions, discussing big feelings with toddlers. It is crap. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. It's just feeding the mom's needs. It has nothing to do with the toddler. It's just awful. So I don't know. Drives me nuts. I can see how that would be entertaining, seeing me go off the edge. I can see that. But I've been doing this for so long now. I've been working with kids for 51 years. I'm in my 60s. I've seen it all, right? And when I saw this please your parent style coming in about 30 years ago, I thought, oh, we're in big trouble. I first noticed it when the participation awards started happening. And then even moms would even get upset if their kid didn't even turn up and still didn't get a participation award. They'd get upset. They'd go storming into the school and mad that their kid didn't get a participation award, even though they didn't participate. Like, why do they get awards just for turning up? So what, you get on the bus and you expect the bus driver, where's my award? Like, that's what you're doing. They just don't have to do anything to get an award. They don't have to earn anything. Everything's handed to them on a silver platter. God, Lisa, shut up. I went off the edge again. But yeah, I saw that coming. And I said back then, 30 years ago, I said, we're going to be raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. Mental health is at an all-time epidemic now with young people because they're raised by that please your parent style who's rolling out the red carpet, discussing all their big feelings, trying to make everything easy for them. It's ignorant is what it is. It's ignorant. The fact that there's professionals out there teaching this still, because I have to repair that damage. That's good for my business, though. Helps me, but I would rather it not. You don't look a day over 45. Oh, thanks. I'm in my 60s. I don't take my wisdom away from me. I love being old. I'm 60. I'm almost 63. In a couple of weeks, I'll be 63. And I don't like it because I do look younger. I know I often get comments when I'm out. And but then you're taking my wisdom away. I've earned this. I got lots of sags and wrinkles. I love all that because I've earned it. I haven't got gray hair yet, but I got lots of wrinkles and sags, and I love my wisdom. I love it. And when someone thinks I'm younger, I feel like they're taking my wisdom away. Isn't that weird? I'm not insulted by it. I appreciate that, but yeah, I had my day when I was young. I'm quite happy with losing my looks and getting older. I'm quite happy with that. I'll never forget, this is an offshoot, but years and years ago, I was about 25 and I was living downtown and I was walking down the street and I worked out I still work out all the time. I worked out all the time. I looked after myself. So from behind, I guess I looked pretty fabulous, right? So these young guys, and they were like 18, 19. There was about 6 of them in this car. They stopped beside me and they said, "Whoa, you want to ride?" And I turned around. I was only about 25 and they looked like this. And one of them said to the other, "Oh, she's old. Let's go." I was only 25. "Oh, she's old. Let's go." I thought that was fantastic. I love that. They actually look scared. Uh, okay. Okay. What this comes up a lot, and there's not much I can do about it. What to do with parents-in-law who intervene in your discipline strategies and spoil the kids? You say to them, "Look, if I'm doing the best I can as a parent. When you interfere, it undermines me and it makes me upset. So lead with your feelings. You can't go wrong. There's not much they can say to that. Lead with your feelings and good luck. Good luck with that. I got a grandchild coming soon, and none of my business how they parent. I'm not a Badinsky at all, though. Like I never tell my kids what to do ever. But yeah, I never did really. Sort of when they were teenagers, I might have done a little bit of that, but not much. And none of my business how they parent. I'll just sit back and watch the show. Yeah, none of my business. And you know, it's not that okay, how do I put this? They don't have a lot of experience with kids, and I had tons, so it came easier to me than it would for most because I already had I had 20 years of experience with kids before I had my own. Anyway, but with my kids parenting, they were parented a certain way. They've often said they're going to try and parent the way I raised them. So, but we'll see. They're going to have their own style. They're not going to do everything I would do, and that's okay because I don't think there's just one way to parent. I think it's quite all right that they are going to do things that I wouldn't do, and they might do things better than what I did. Well, maybe not, but you know, or maybe they will. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily think my way is the only way. It's like religion. You really can believe in your own religion, but to demonize other religions, it would be kind of silly. Like, there's lots of good religions out there, great religions out there, lots of good ways of parenting. So yeah, we'll just see how they do. I'll just sit back and watch the show. Okay. Yeah, 2-year-olds. I do have a bunch of courses on 2-year-olds, toddlers up there. I have a big course, the boot camp, that starts at the age of 3, though. But for toddlers, there's a few little courses up there. How to have advice when they struggle. If my kids ask my advice, I'll say, well, what I would have done with you is blah, blah, blah. But is that what you're talking about? How will if they're struggling? Then they're going to have to ask me. Or I might say, did you want any help? Or do you want some, but yeah, that's their business. It's not my kid. It's their business. What can I, what can I do with a 5-year-old boy who forgets the rules, what not to do day by day? Does he really forget? Or does he just say he forgets? I'm going to challenge that. What are we talking about here? He forgets that hitting is bad? Something like that? So is he pulling the wool over your eyes here? That's my gut reaction. I forgot not to kick the cat. Is something like that? Yeah, I would still, there'd be a consequence for that. Say, well, you'll know next time, won't you? You forgot? Oh, well, you'll know next time, won't you? That's like hiding behind good intentions. That's a pet peeve of mine with adults too. I didn't mean it. You did it though. You said it. Like, I don't care. People don't react to your intentions, which almost always 99.9% do match the actions and the words, right? But they hide behind, I didn't mean that. What I meant was, yeah, bull. I'm not stupid. I know enough about psychology. That's bull. You never say anything by accident, ever. And also, age and alcohol are both truth serums. People don't lie when they're drunk; they actually tell the truth. So, but yeah, well, I didn't mean it. If someone's an ugly drunk, that's who they really are. Yeah, it's a truth serum. There's all these psychology things I think are fascinating. Yeah, don't play dumb with me. Don't talk about intentions with me. I didn't mean it. Well, too bad. You're still, people only react to what you give them. They only react to what you say and do to them. So your intentions mean nothing to me. It's how do you treat me? Like, don't jump on the couch the next day. He's playing you. Just have a consequence. Say no jumping on the couch. If he does, there's a consequence. Period. 2-year-old who went to another child and hit them with a toy. Okay, you take the toy away, take the weapon away. You say no. It's consistent corrective action with 2-year-olds, and they only learn through repetition. So the first time they do it, you say no and you put the toy away. I would actually give it to the other child that they hit. I'd say no and give it to the other child, and then you have to restrain your 2-year-old. Will it be a scene? Yes. Is there a lesson behind that scene? Yes. Are you willing to go through the scene to teach your child a lesson? That's up to you. I have no problem with that stuff. Behind every scene, fit, tantrum, there's a lesson to be learned. If you're trying to avoid those lessons, that's on you. I can't help you with that. Like parents will say, how do I avoid I don't want them to get upset. How do I avoid tantrums and scenes? And I'm like, why would you? So give in to all their demands so they never have a scene. That's what you're saying. They're in charge. If you're afraid of their scenes, they are in charge. They are leading you with a nose ring through the nose. Guaranteed. Any advice for grandparents using timeout for our 2-year-old when we don't use timeout? Oh, you're going to hate my answer. I hate timeout. But when you're dropping your kids off with other people that you trust, they can do whatever they want. That's my attitude. Is if you're babysitting, like I wouldn't micromanage that. Like I wouldn't, if I could send my kids to school and I didn't like what the teacher's doing, it's none of my business. I would never tell someone else what to do with my kid. If I'm entrusting them with my child, unless they're abusing them. But you see what I'm saying? That's, if you're letting someone else babysit, I wouldn't tell them how to do it. I just wouldn't. And I've said to my kid, I'll never tell my kids how to parent. It's none of my business. But when they drop their kids off at grandma's house, grandma's rules. I'm in charge. My way. But as soon as the parents walk in, whoop, none of my business. So yeah, that's my feeling on that. I don't micromanage people, especially if you're asking them to babysit. Don't tell them what to do. Anything I talk about is instead of timeout. So it's not that, like people say, what do I do instead of time? It's like saying, what do I do if I'm trying to lose weight? What do I eat instead of a chocolate cake? No, I'm telling you what to do. Everything I can't give you a timeout replacement. There's the whole package, all this leadership stuff I talk about is what you do, and you don't do timeout. So you see what I mean? There's a whole bunch of stuff. It's not like instead of timeout, do that. It's not like that. It's like the whole package. And also, if you're going to look for parenting advice, you just read one book, look at one parenting expert. You do not mix us together. It's like dieting. If you were to take different methods from all us, the ones that you like, you pick and choose, right? And you go, I like that, I like that, I like that. You mix them together, you got garbage. It's not going to work. It's meant to be used as a package. Everything I teach about leadership. You give respect to get it. You want to be the fun parent. You want to be friends with your kids, but you're also a mentor. You're a leader for them, and they respect you. That's why they're very respectful. They just do. They want to please you when they're little, and they don't want to disappoint you when they're teenagers. If you were to mix other people's recommendations in with mine, it wouldn't work. And then you go, that Lisa doesn't know what she's talking about. That's because you threw time out or yelling into my methods. You're going to tank. It's just going to tank. You're going to destroy it. So pick a path. Go with it. Go with it for 3 to 6 weeks. When you do that, just pick a path and go with one path for 3 to 6 weeks. I do this all the time when I'm learning stuff about business or whatever, or investing or accounting or whatever. I like that and I like that. And then I get all overloaded and nothing works. But if you just go with one, you may not like everything I say, but if you package it all up into one bundle, it'll work. Don't pick and choose. Don't be selective from different people. Also, if you're going to take advice from anyone or read a parenting book, there's 2 criteria. I think there's no way I would take parenting advice from someone who didn't have these 2 qualifications. Number one, they have to have finished the job. Are their kids adults now? Have they lived with teenagers? It's a whole thing. If you haven't lived with teenagers and finished right through adulthood, I wouldn't listen to you about parenting. Number two is they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids. My kids were relatively easy kids. I got respect when they were tiny and sailed right through the teen years, okay? So they have to have worked with hundreds of kids so that they've seen everything. I've seen everything out there. And they have to have that well, it's all experience-based. Parenting is experience-based. It's not like teaching. It's not like child psychology. I get a lot of those people as clients. That's different. I couldn't do their job either. Parenting is experience-based. So yeah, they have to have had experience with hundreds of kids, so they've seen everything. Then they know how to get respect. And number two is they have to have finished the job. It would be like if you are listening to, if you're taking parenting advice from someone with a toddler and they're teaching parenting, it's like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. It doesn't make any sense. They don't have the knowledge yet. They just don't have it. So yeah, you can ask them what toys their kids like, but overall, the whole parenting picture, how do they know what's going to lead into the teen years? How do they know how to invest in today to get through those teen years? That's everything I do is investing into, I go backwards. My specialty is teenagers. Everything I talk about, I know how to get you through those teen years. That's all I'm doing is guiding you through those. When you make mistakes with little kids, it's not that big a deal. If you make mistakes with teenagers and they go out and they rebel, it can be life and death stuff. So that's why I'm always thinking about the teenage years. It's my favorite age, by the way. When you know how to deal with teenagers and respect them, show respect, you get it and get it back, piece of cake, sail right through it. Well, I don't know how to answer this. How long will I have to continue restraining my 1-year-old before they stop having tantrums? You don't restrain them unless they're getting violent. And they can have tantrums for the next couple of years, okay? They're just born to have them. My son had them. My daughter never did. They're just born to have. I never had one. I remember I was tiny and I'd look at other kids having tantrums and I'd think, what are they doing? How embarrassing. I can remember that. And my daughter had that same look. She'd be like this, looking at kids having tantrums. Like, what are you doing? So, but my son would just have one. He could have cared less what anyone thought. So they're just born to have them. They will grow out of them. The better you get at ignoring tantrums, the quicker they will decrease in duration, intensity, and frequency. But it takes time. They're not going to stop having tantrums at 1-year-old. Maybe at 2.5 to 3.5, around there. So yeah, usually around 3.5. But they get less and less. I think they mean in one sitting, holding them, but hurting themselves and others. Yeah, then you let them go, see if they're going to get violent again, then you pick them up again. It just takes time. There's no easy answer. I don't know how long it's going to take. They're all different. It just takes time. Toddlers are crazy. Like parents who have older kids who hire me and they also have a toddler, they never talk about the toddler. I'll just say, oh, do you have any questions about the toddler? No, they're just a toddler. Toddlers are crazy. That's what they say. They literally just, yeah, toddlers are crazy. That's right. They are. They already understand that because they've already raised one. So they understand. You don't make sense out of them. You don't try to figure them out. Just go with it. Consistent corrective action to correct naughty behavior. The rest of the time, try and connect with them in their world. Try and have fun with them. Yeah. Maintaining is the easiest part. I always say that parenting is the hardest job in the world. I don't always say this. There's lots of times in my life I'm not saying this, but parenting is the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. It's work. You got to earn this stuff. You got to figure it out. It's hard work. Earning respect is hard work. Once you've got it, maintaining it is a piece of cake. That's what I did. I got it when they were tiny, kind of sailed right through the teen years. They really are crazy, yeah, crazy toddlers. LOL, things seem way different now that we have an almost 13-year-old. You know what's another thing that comes up all the time? Oh, we've got a 9-year-old daughter and she's 9 going on 19. And I always say, no, she's not. Wait till she's 19, then we'll talk. Girls are very good at modeling. I don't mean like this kind of modeling. I mean, they watch other people and they pretend. They're very good at that. But you watch them in a weak moment or something, they're sitting in a corner eating popcorn, picking their nose. They're not 19. You know what I mean? Like they're still 9-year-olds. But yeah, girls are often misunderstood because they are very good at masking and modeling and imitating and mimicking. I have a tween boy with severe ADHD that constantly any advice. Tween is a 9 to 12-year-old, and but yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. All of this stuff came from me working with kids with ADHD. Basically, those were the most common kids I worked with. So that's what I teach. Is that's where I learned all this. I don't really teach what I did with my own kids. They were pretty easy. Just a sec, I got a siren going by. You may not always hear it, but it bothers me. Anyway, so yeah, everything I'm talking about is for kids with ADHD, or it's about, because it's about you. You lead, they will follow. You lead, they will follow. It's just the way it is. They desperately crave and want a leader. Oh shoot, I just had something I was going to say. Shoot. Oh, sugar. It was a good point too about that. It's gone. It's gone. How to get toddlers to stop climbing. There are 4 things that kids are born to do or not do. My daughter and I did none of these. My son had tantrums. So one is tantrums. They're going to have them or they're not. The other one is running. So they run away from you when you're out in public. Neither of my kids did that. Neither of them climbed. The other one is tantrums. No, tantrums, climbing, running, hitting. Some of them are hitters. They're naturally born. They're going to get a little bit violent with other people. They can be a little bit, sadistic sometimes. Even as babies, you can see it. They bite, the other baby screams, and they laugh. It's just that little streak that they have in them. So what did I do? Violence, running, tantrums, and climbing. So climbing is one of those. They're either born, they're going to do it, or they're not. Okay. I had a client years ago, and she almost phoned the police. She could not find her 18-month-old. Gone. Like just she thought someone had gotten in the house somehow, taken her toddler, and run away with them. She was convinced. Anyway, she was just about to phone the police, and she was been running around frantically, and she heard giggling or something. I can't remember. She looked up. Her 18-month-old was on top of the fridge. They had used the drawers to climb up, and then they got up on the counter. Then they used, I think, a bread maker, and they got up on top of the fridge, and they had been there for quite some time. Imagine if that kid had fallen off on their head, right? Anyway, so here's what I suggest you do if you've got a climber. Of course, child-proof as much as possible, but you can't do everything. Also, turn chairs upside down so that they can't use them to climb on, and put bells and or alarms on everything they can use to climb on. So if it's drawers and dressers and all that, put bells on that stuff, put alarms on them. You can even put bells on your kids so you can hear where they are at any given time. But number one is completely child-proof your home as much as possible. But yeah, climbers are difficult. I knew there was, is it a client or something? I can't remember if it was a video. I think it might have been a video I saw. And this parents were frantically looking for their kids. He was little and he was up. He had his hands on a hallway, skinny hallway. He had his feet on one wall and his hands on the other, or it was maybe 1 foot and one hand, like that. He was up at the ceiling height, and he was a little guy. And he climbed up beside, and I thought, what do you do about that? What do you put bells on the walls? So yeah, you just have to watch them like a hawk. Yeah, I did. Oh, you did hear it. Yeah, I've got my window open. I live downtown on a busy street, which is just the way I want it. When I was looking for places, was a beautiful place, condo right half a block from me, quiet, tree line, beautiful street. And no, I like to hear the track. I like the action. I don't want to be in on it, but I like the sounds of the city. That's why I like downtown, because I want to hear it. Don't ask me to justify that. It doesn't make any sense. I just like it. If I have people over who aren't from downtown and an ambulance goes by, unless I'm doing a live, I don't usually hear it. And they'll say, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, what? It relaxes me. I like this. I like hubbub. Yeah, your daughter can climb like that. Yucks. Yeah, girl was a climber, 23 now. Oftentimes those kids end up being gymnasts. Can't believe I said that correctly. Gymnasts. It's hard to say. Okay. Yeah. Monkey, because you always climb. Yeah, it's something you're born to do. So what is it? I always get this. I should write that down. Climb, tantrum, violent. What was the other one? Climb. What's the other one? Running. Thank you. Runners. Yeah, they're either born, they're going to do it, or they never will. It's just the way it is. I've worked with hundreds of kids, and sometimes the parents would say, mine's a runner. And I'm like, okay. They just are either going to do it, or usually they will do it, or they never will. It's not something they usually try once even. My kids never ran, ever, and they never climbed. and they never hit. They never did any of those three things. But my son had tantrums, and my daughter never did. So I lucked out with my daughter. She never did any of that stuff, but my son had tantrums. I knew it when he was in the womb, because if he, you know how you get that heel up in your solar plexus up here, and you gasp. And I would try and push his foot back down. He'd push back and squirm around like that. And I thought, oh God, I'm in for it. I just knew. I thought he's going to come out and have tantrums. He didn't have tons. He wasn't a real tantrumer, but he had them. My daughter did the same thing when she was inside me, and I'd push. She'd pull her foot in and then not move for ages. So it was like this. She hates confrontation to this day. She just hates it. Whereas my son loves debating, and they're just totally different natures. You can tell it's in the womb. I'm pregnant now, and he's like that in my belly. But they're fun too. Like, it's not like there's one preference over another. It's just, you can just tell by the natures. My son never shut up. My God, he talked a lot from a really young age. Really, he was a lot of fun. He had tantrums, but he was a really fun kid. And he also entertained himself beautifully. So even though he had tantrums, he was still a beautiful child to raise. I mean, so just because they have tantrums doesn't mean that they're, oh my God, Yeah, their basic natures. They're born with their basic nature and their basic personality. All of their behavior, everything they say and everything they do is basically a direct result of your parenting. 100%. Their behavior is a direct result of your leadership or lack of. My son was in grade 2, and his teacher called me during her lunch hour to tell me this. She thought it was so cute. She had said in grade 2, she had said to my son, "Why are you so nice?" And he looked up at her all serious, and he goes, "Mommy makes us be nice." I'm like, "You're darn right I do." Teachers love me. I sent these really polite kids to school. They loved it. And every year I'd get a handwritten note from the principal, and it would say, "If all the kids were as well behaved as yours, school would be a dream. Thank you, Lisa." I got that every year right through high school. Should I prepare? Oh gosh, you're going to hate my answer. I say that a lot because I say a lot of unpopular answers, I'm sure. Should I prepare my almost 2-year-old for a baby coming? Nope, because you can't. How could you possibly prepare a 2-year-old for what's coming down the pike? It's impossible. So good luck with that. You can try. There's lots of methods out there. You get them to help. You get them their own little baby. Basically, watch that new baby like a hawk. Your 2-year-old might kick the bassinet over once you get them home. After a week, they go, "Wait a minute. I mean, that thing that was so cute in the hospital that I got all that attention for holding," because they're still the center of attention when they're holding a new baby. And you're going, "Oh, you're a wonderful big brother, aren't you?" Yeah. And he's thinking, "Wait till I get this thing home." Well, he doesn't have any concept of it. The baby comes home. It never leaves. It's screaming all the time. It stinks. It takes mommy and daddy away from them. Sometimes they might reach in the bassinet and throw that baby on the floor. So you can't prepare them for that. Just supervise that newborn like 24/7. How do we get on the same page? Okay, how can we get on the same page as parents? I'm the authoritative, she's a people pleaser. Okay, so you've got the authority and the pleaser. There's usually, the authority is the old-fashioned way of parenting, and it's not a bad way to parent. It's my way or the highway. You're sort of in charge. I don't teach that. I'm very different from that. But that's not a bad way to parent. The pleaser parent's terrible. But if it's mixed with an authority, it's not so bad. If it's mixed with a leader, it's not so bad, because usually there is either an authority and a pleaser or a leader and a pleaser, almost always. You'll never have an authority and a leader together. It just wouldn't work. You wouldn't see that. I've never seen it before. I've never seen two parents, one's an authority and one's a leader. I've never seen that before. You know why? Because once the authority sees how close the leader is to those kids, they tend to go more towards the leader. The authority will more likely become the leader. Anyway, those are both good ways of parenting, but the pleaser is not. So it's okay so long as the pleaser defers to the authority. So long as the pleaser defers. So there usually is one stronger one not so strong. My mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. I was the leader. My ex-husband was the pleaser. But he deferred to me. If he was out with the kids and if they start acting up, all he had to say was, and this gave him some clout. He would just say, "Do you want me to tell mom?" And the kids would go, "No, never mind." So he would use me as leverage, but he would never give in and do so. The odd time he'd buy them treats. He knew I didn't like junk food for them, but he'd sometimes buy them treats. They couldn't wait to get home and tell on dad, "Daddy got us some treats." And I'm like, "Daddy, did you do that?" So it was sort of fun, like it was just, But yeah, get the pleaser to defer to the authority, to you. If you want to work on your leadership skills, that's fine too. You might be a leader, but call yourself the authority, but I don't teach authority parenting at all. Authorities don't tend to be accountable. Authorities tend to, my way, the highway, I know everything. It's more like that, the old fashioned way. It's not a bad way to parent. But the pleaser parent's a disaster. It's an absolute train wreck. Best advice for a sixth grader girl, please. Well, you mean as a parent? I don't fix kids. I fix and teach parents. I teach parenting. So I don't quite know what you mean. Yeah, I had horrible postpartum depression when I brought my newborn home to a 2-year-old, just being honest. Okay, that's one of my most challenging clients. When I get a client who has a newborn with postpartum depression and a toddler, because I have to be so careful with that mother because she's very fragile. Her emotions are flying. I have to work really, really hard to not push her, but also try and get her some results. And most of it's just building her up because she's very fragile. Your hormones are flying, right? So that's why I'm most challenging because I'm obsessed with your results and I just can't get you the results I want. I just can't quite go to that next level because you're so fragile, you're so emotional, and you're dealing with a lot. New baby hanging off the boob, and you got a toddler pawing at you. It's a lot. It just is. So that the reason why it's most challenging client for me when I'm coaching is because I just can't get the results I want. Um, but I'm just here to support the mom usually in that situation and give her advice down the road when she's feeling stronger. But it's tough. It's very physically demanding and emotionally. Just is. I never had postpartum, but I was lousy at being pregnant. I hated being pregnant. I had severe back pain with my son, ended up having back surgery afterwards. And I was nauseous for 9 months with my daughter. It was like having stomach flu for 9 months. I didn't even know you could do that. Oh God, just thinking about it makes me shudder. And then I developed arrhythmia with her and I had 2 heart attacks and heart surgery after her from developing heart arrhythmia. So yeah, my body was not meant to hold kids. But once they came out, oh, heaven. Yeah. I'm great at the mothering. It's the pregnancy I'm lousy at. Ugh, just thinking about it. Ugh. Me too. I'm a horrible pregnant person, due in 3 weeks, not long now. Oh, congratulations. Yeah. Some women glow. I didn't. I was more of a like, ugh. Yeah. Don't you look good, Lisa? I gained like 70 pounds and I was back pain and heart problem. Oh, it was just a mess. Yeah, my friend loves it. It doesn't mean they're going to love the parenting part. I would rather love the parenting part like I did. Once they shot out, that's when I shone. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And you got 18 years of that. Pregnancy is only 9 months. So I'm thankful for you being here. Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate that. I do these lives every day. The only ones that are scheduled are Tuesday nights and Saturday mornings. It's all in the link above. Also, if you go to my link, not the link, it's just in my bio. If you go to the link and tap on that, you'll see my courses, my coaching, which is done on Zoom. And it's usually weekly 1 hour Zoom calls. And then also my free behavior boards on there also. I could never be pregnant again. I love having kids, but the pregnancy makes me feel like misery. Yeah, my daughter's won 9 months of nausea. And it was during labor. And I went, oh my God. And I don't know who was with me, a nurse. She goes, what? And I said, the nausea just left. Something disconnected and the nausea went away. I had nausea for like stomach flu for 9 months. And I was in labor. And even though I was in pain, it was like, oh, the nausea went away. It was just like something lifted. It was an awful pregnancy. Anyway, nice, beautiful, healthy daughter. I'd go through it all again to get her. But anyway, did you homeschool? No, I would have hated it. I'm no good at teaching. I don't like teaching. I don't like all that stuff. So no, it's not my thing. Plus, I'm very big. You coach worldwide. Yeah, I raised my kids in Australia. Yeah, I teach people all over the world. I don't teach anyone. It's hardly ever do I get anyone in Vancouver. So it's usually people in other parts of the world. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was saying. Homeschool. It was something about homeschooling. Yeah, homeschooling. I don't have an opinion on it. I just hate doing it. It's like asking me about religion. I don't have an opinion on it, but it's great. Like what I mean is it's a personal choice. Homeschooling, breastfeeding for a long period of time. There's about three of them that are really common. Oh, no, I hate that. Anyway, there's another one. There's a third thing that people ask me about quite frequently, and I say it's personal choice. Homeschooling's personal choice. I know. Co-sleeping. Co-sleeping. I wouldn't want to do it. I did it for I think 10 months with my daughter. I didn't enjoy it. I was worried about smothering her. And then I wanted a good night's sleep after she was old enough to be safe in there. But anyway, those are things that just personal choice. But anyway, and I know I wanted my kids to get all the social skills out there in the world. Most people are not homeschooled, so I wanted my kids assimilated into the norm, into what most people in the world were doing. So I was very big on that. Like my son was labeled as gifted from a very young age, and I kept him mainstreamed as long as possible. And the school actually fought me on that a few times, and I said no, he's going to stay in the same grade with all the same age kids. And then in high school they did segregate him. I didn't have a say in that, but I don't like that. I didn't like it. I think it's damaging. Yeah, there's certain things that are just personal. It's funny whenever I think about people arguing things that are just personal choice, I'm always surprised at that. Like when people argue politics and religion, they're personal preferences. Like, yeah, it always strikes me as funny. Like I'm vegan. I would never argue veganism. It's a personal choice. Like, why do I care how you eat? But it always surprises me when people argue things that are just your own personal view. Do you have any tips for parents of the gifted? Yeah, I do, but it's my personal opinion. I do believe in mainstreaming kids. Keep them as normal as possible. Because my son I knew when he was about 1, I figured it out. I knew something was different about him because I've worked with hundreds of kids. I knew he was different. And then he was 3 and the preschool, or the kindy actually had him assessed, and he was offered all sorts of stuff. And I said no to everything. And he came out really high. And I was very determined because if their brain works at that certain level, it's very hard for their emotions to keep up with it. If there's a lot of pressure on them academically, and I wanted to keep them balanced. That was my goal, was to keep them balanced and normal. And plus, I always said to my kids, if you're born beautiful or smart, never take credit for that. That's just luck. You don't take credit for luck. If you work really hard, because when you're born with just these gifts, you can't take credit for that. Like, it's impossible. How can you take credit for the way you look when you're born? Like, you know what I'm saying? How can you take credit for having a brain that's really efficient? It just doesn't make any sense for me. So I never emphasize that. I emphasize kindness, being nice, being fun. Those are the things I emphasized. I never emphasized grades or anything like that. I just never did. It was important to me not to do that. I wanted their value system to be a certain way. It's all about if you're a good person. That was my goal, to be nice, to be a good person. That was all I was focused on. I mean, they had to try and do well in school because they were capable. So yeah, they couldn't just do nothing. But you know what I'm saying? I didn't ever fuss over that stuff because I just didn't think it was, if you're born smart, how can you take credit for that? Yeah, I do. It's like my mom used to say, she hated poor sports. Was a real gamer, and she hated poor sports. She really did. We knew a few poor sports, and she just thought she hated that trait. And she always said, me and my brother, she always said, "You're such good sports." I was like in my 50s, and "You're such a good sport." She really prized that trait. I play to win, but I don't care if I win. And my mom always said, "I'd rather lose and play well than win by luck." So she always emphasized effort. Doing your best. And that's what I tried to do with my kids. What does your son do now? I do not discuss my adult kids. It's none of it. They're not on here. So yeah, I leave them private, but he is expecting a little girl soon. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I don't discuss my adult kids. They're doing very well. Yeah, I struggle with my 14-year-old actually trying. He's not academically minded and has no interest at all. It's very common. I deal with that a lot in coaching. So it doesn't mean that he's a lesser person because he struggles. It's just you have to find other ways around it and just say, kiddo, you got to graduate. That's all there is to it. It's not negotiable. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is negotiable, but you want him to graduate. And so, yeah, you just say, what can we do to help you? Let's work this out. Do you need a tutor? But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff we do with that. If you want my help with that, you'd have to hire me. Coaching with teenagers, that's up in the link above. That's almost always 5 sessions. Teenagers are work. You've got history with your teenager. So we have to take all that into consideration. Okay. What do you do if a child isn't listening to you or anyone else? Well, that's what I teach. I teach leadership, and you lead and they will follow. So it just means you're not a leader. If they're not listening to anybody, they don't respect anybody. They haven't learned how to respect. That's your job to teach them that. It's not their fault. They're just victims of your parenting. That's all it is. Their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. They're born with their basic nature and their basic personality, but all of their behavior, how they act, what they say, what they do, all of their behavior is on you. So work on your leadership skills. That's all you've got. You can only change yourself anyway. You can't change other people. So you work on your leadership skills. You lead, they will follow. It's a natural instinct. The kids that I found the quickest to turn around when I was working with them was the most difficult kids. Whenever a teacher would hand me one and say, good luck with this one, Lisa, those are the ones that were the quickest for me to get respect from. Do you know why? And for them to want to please me. Do you know why? The pool story is a very good example of that. I tell that pool story almost every day. It's because they're so desperate for leadership. And when they finally come up against a calm leader, they almost go like this. Finally. Whew. It's what they've been looking for all along. That's why they're acting out. They're screaming for a leader. The worse they are, the more they need a leader. And they're screaming for it. Okay. Oh, gosh. Should I be grateful that my teenager overshares his stuff with me? Sometimes I don't know how to react. Yeah, be grateful. Yeah, I won't go on too much about that, but yeah, my kids told me everything. Sometimes you just have to go, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. Be grateful. It's never anything horrible, I'm assuming, but yeah. Did you end up shy? Well, you must not have been on there from the start, because the new name of my little list is Top 3 Tips for Parenting Teens. Also, I have stolen that name for my Top 3 Tips for Parenting Teenagers. I'm going to have all of it. Top 4 stages of parenting. I'm going to have that for everything now. So yes, I did use your name. Thank you very much. She's the one who, Shy is the one who told me how to rename that, Top 5 Tips for Toddlers, because I couldn't say it before. I had 5 top tips for parenting toddlers. I just couldn't say it. So thanks for that. Okay. How do you regulate kids? You don't regulate kids. You do not regulate anybody else. You cannot regulate someone else. So yeah, I know it's popular. It's a real common terminology now, but it's not said by me. How to regulate kids after being sick, super irritable, more tantrums. You don't. If they're sick, everything goes out the window. All you're doing is cuddling and nurturing, feeding, making sure they sleep, cuddling them. Do whatever you got to do when they're sick. Absolutely. Everything goes out the window when they're sick. Everything. You just look after them. Anyway, I got to get going. Yeah, it's been over an hour now, so I got to get going. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My regularly scheduled lives are Tuesday night at 7, Vancouver time, that's California time, and Saturday, 10 a.m. If you go in the link above, you can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. That's all in the link above. So it's just my website, basically. It's all bullet point form. It's the same stuff that's on my website, just to make it easier for you. So thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye now.